We're just enjoying our tea. This hot tea in this Japanese beehive with bees. But they've had some tea as well, and they're happy. They're happy bees. So we're in no danger. So fear not for me, my friend. Whoop. Didn't mean to do that. Welcome to Coprolalia, you fucks. This is a little podcast that we do every week with me and Giles, and we talk about whatever we want, and I play sound effects on a little tiny keyboard, and we listen to some music. Can't think of anything else to add.
My culture is not your fucking podcast background music.
To that I say,
that's a little jingle in itself, though, and by extension, it's almost sort of advertising.
Actually brings up I think we talked about it last time, maybe. This girl posted a photo of her wearing a dress. It was like this Chinese dress. For
Chinese inspired dress. It could even have been made in China by Chinese people.
Potentially. Okay, so she got a whole bunch of shit for it, and all about cultural appropriation. Actually, I think we did touch on this last time, so maybe we shouldn't.
I know. I feel like we've talked about it, but we didn't actually do it on the podcast.
Oh, okay.
But if we did, I mean, that just shows how very important it is to us. So.
I think it's very good to not culturally appropriate. Like, there's a difference between ripping a culture off or using it for our own personal gain and just being inspired by another culture and being interested in another culture.
I think it comes down to exploitation, yeah?
Yeah, totally. There you go. There's
and
a bloody
I think we're
good word
just
for it.
realizing that, like, you can't really not exploit somebody if you're, like, making a profit off of something that you're not properly respecting the origins of.
It's just like every culture does it. Like that's just how human beings have progressed. That's how cultures have developed.
Yeah.
My
language is not your fucking Twitter comment.
Twitter handle. My language is not to be tattooed on your skin or drunken at like 3 a.m. in the morning.
My Twitter, my social networking platform is not your fucking soapbox.
That's pretty accurate.
It can just keep going. That's what I think I'm trying to illustrate. It's just like, where do you stop? Like,
shouldn't make anything sacred. Be it a Twitter handle, or be it a Twitter be it a platform, be it a culture. I don't know. I think.
I don't know. I definitely at some point in my life decided that nothing was sacred, and then just proceeded to toy with whatever I wanted to. And I mean, some people just are attracted to things that are sacred, I think.
And exotic and interesting, not part of their day-to-day. They have some history behind them, have something else to dig into. I think
what's the most sensitive and kind thing we can say on this topic, though? What do you think?
What do you from our own perspective?
Should we say that person shouldn't have worn the dress to prom? Is that the polite, kind thing to say?
I think it's not good to assume that the intent was to exploit it, and also to assume that she doesn't know what she's doing. I mean, you could even just like, what if she was adopted by a Chinese family from a very young age, and it's been her culture, and just
it for her.
Yeah, and just no one actually bothered to check in on that. Obviously, it's quite an assumption to assume there was something that deep behind it, but like to immediately jump down to me, drop some shit. To immediately like give her shit for it. is almost just as bad as it's not almost just as bad. I don't know. Like both sides, I think, are kind of in the wrong in those kind of cases. Like everyone's just looking for a fight.
So you're saying do not wear Chinese-inspired dresses to an American prom. Just fucking get rid of all Chinese culture. Get rid of anything that's not American. Keep it out of schools.
Keep it out of America.
Out of popular culture. Keep it out of America. Yeah, that's.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty good message. I can stand by that.
Yeah.
Put that on a poster. Put that on a bumper sticker.
Social justice warriors are accidentally turning into Trump supporters.
Yeah, well, that's it turns into segregation, right? Doesn't it?
Right.
It kind of feels like it. Like to assume that a culture... Okay, so to assume a country is multicultural or just a part of society is multicultural, but then to say that none of those cultures can borrow and learn from each other without thoroughly checking every single thing, every bit of history between them, and double checking with every citizen of that culture to make sure, is this cool? You guys cool with this? Because I'm gonna do this thing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna use a spice that's
and
culturally...
in fact, who do you even talk to? Like, which Chinese person do you ring up and then say, do you mind if I wear, or at least borrow a little bit of the aesthetic of your culture for my dress? There isn't a person you can do that to. It's not like you get sponsored by the country.
Yeah. Well, apparently, like, when it blew up, the people from China. That sounds, again, this is your point, because it's so vague to say people from China, because almost all humans live in China.
I'm getting some audio dropping. I'm missing little bits of your audio. I don't know why.
Well, I'll just repeat myself. How about that?
Yeah, cool. There we go.
Well, sweet.
Yeah, we sweet. I can hear you now.
To the listeners, just hold with us. Yeah, so apparently people are tweeting from China that the attitude is fairly different over there, that like any culture getting outside of China is a good thing because it's spreading the culture, it's spreading people's interest and knowledge of China, so they weren't offended. Yeah. But again, yeah, as you made the point, like who said that? which Chinese people mentioned that? Because most people live in China. It's such an interesting
idea.
Such an absurd. Yeah, who do you check with?
Well, why do we consider white people the dominant majority when there are more Chinese people?
Yeah, really good. Especially in like I think in this day and age, like China's on the up and up. Like they're a huge cultural force and a huge political force, especially like in terms of trade. I don't want to talk about trade. This isn't a bloody trade. This is not that kind of
economy
podcast.
Is my favorite thing in the world. I have dreams about the economy doing so well.
Just my wet dream is stock rising, falling, buying.
Yeah, do you
rising.
Do you dream graphs as well? I dream graphs.
Yeah.
But just go up and down, lines that go up. But just like generally they go up.
I plot my orgasm on a bar graph. And my love is a pie chart. My love is a pie chart. I want you to take the biggest slice.
I love synergistic business meetings that discuss I think I have to admit that I don't care about economy. I think I've run out of
I didn't get that though until you said it.
That's why I admitted it. I felt like I was leading you on there for a second.
Yeah. What were we talking about? Oh yeah. I think I have mentioned this on the podcast before. I'm going to mention it in brief. There's just another situation where friends of mine were wanting to do a piece that was kind of inspired by Aboriginal art in Australia. And they did a whole bunch of research into it. I think this one person did. One person did a whole bunch of research. They had the initial idea, and then they actually went and spoke to an elder of that community and said, "Hey, is this all sweet with you?" And they were like, "Yes, good on ya, do it." Your heart seems to be in the right place for this work. But then one member of the band said, no, we just cannot touch it. We're not doing this. This is cultural appropriation. We're exploiting them. And it's like, why do you get to decide that when the person who you are trying to protect said, nah, it's all sweet? That doesn't make any sense to me. That's completely absurd. And that's to assume all anything inspired by or anything using anyone else's culture or anyone else's just anything like that, anything considered sacred is automatically being exploitative. That's backwards, and it's segregation in a way, as I bloody mentioned earlier. I was hoping this podcast was going to be a lighter episode, but
well, we can make this lighter by breaking down Childish Gambino's obvious criticism of America.
Let's analyze some American hip hop. we have.
I'm gonna get some lyrics.
Get some lyrics out.
Video. Can you explain that video to the listeners?
First of all, okay, yeah, well, I was so surprised. I didn't know he had any music coming out, and I was a pretty big fan of his last album. I've been on and off fan for his other stuff.
Who is this person that we're discussing?
Donald Glover, aka Childish Gambino. Childish Gambino being his musical synonym, and Childish and Donald Glover is an actor and comedian. Originally comedian. We knew him from Derek Comedy back in the day.
Yeah, Derek Comedy.
How crazy is it? I mean, this is this is a stupid comment, I think, but that's the most exciting thing about growing up. You grow up with your boys, you grow up with your heroes. You see your heroes as little bubbies, and you get to see
he's
them.
Gonna end up in comedy. I have no doubt that once he's had his enormous success as like a Grammy Award-winning musician and a television writer. He'll go back to doing comedy.
It's so exciting seeing someone do so many different things and be so successful in all of them. And I'm not going to say he's like the best musician or the best writer or the best comedian. He's just... everything he does feels really honest to me. So even though there might be technically better or more popular at anything he does, I'm just always so excited to see what he does when he gets into a different medium, which is, I think, very exciting and very inspiring. Anyway, so he dropped this video yesterday. I saw it uploaded, and it was uploaded 2 hours ago. And I was like, oh shit, I didn't know he had fucking music coming out. Let's listen to it. And I'm not going to... should we spoil it for anyone who hasn't heard the song? Because it's a pretty exciting song to listen to for the first time, I would say. But I guess fuck it. If you haven't listened to it, pause the podcast and go and listen to this song. The song is called. Yeah,
that's my advice as well.
Yeah, Childish Gambino.
We'll do a little waiting music to show that.
I will. The song is called Childish Gambino. This is America. Go to YouTube and watch the video because the video is fucking stunning. And I'm gonna. We'll wait.
And we're gonna wait here. We're gonna wait here while you do that.
Okay, now that you've seen the video and you've enjoyed the fuck out of it,
welcome back.
Welcome back to Coprolalia, the only podcast that says. His dancing is amazing in this video.
Yeah, I like it too.
So yeah, when I fucking watched it for the first time, and it opens up with this what do you call it, like folksy kind of maybe gospel.
I wouldn't
inspired.
call it folksy, but I'd call it like tribal.
I think just African. Like, obviously that's a hugely broad term, but like it's got that kind of traditional. I can't remember which side of Africa it is. One side of Africa traditionally focuses more on rhythm, like drums, and one side focuses on singing, and that's kind of where gospel comes from, apparently.
Well, it's a bit of a mixture, isn't it? It's like
especially nowadays.
I mean, and Donald Glover would obviously just want to pull from everywhere in Africa, probably. To fully illustrate the point.
Here, you know what it reminded me of is Paul Simon's. What album was that? Graceland. Yeah. Okay. So Paul Simon's Graceland. That style of like modernized kind of African culture. Anyway, starts with that, and I thought, what the fuck? Is he going to do a Paul Simon thing? Is he going to do a full album of that? Because he went totally different on his last album. I wouldn't be surprised if he did another huge switch up.
Yeah, it was doing like a funkadelic kind of thing for a little bit.
And then it just gets fucking nuts. Just like America. He fucking pulls a gun out, shoots this guy in the fucking head, and then he gets dirty.
So he fucking murders somebody within the first, 30 seconds?
Yeah, about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And
then he starts dancing like a madman.
I loved his facial expression while he was dancing and like flicking between this like really macho and I think I assumed he was kind of talking about trying to put on a face while also having to be really masculine in that kind of society.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, that was my initial takeaway from it.
No, go for it. It deserves interpretation, and I think it's open to that.
Well, I think I assume that's kind of the point of the video with the hugely optimistic and exciting chorus you would call it with the Paul Simon-esque music, and then going down to this dirty, filthy beat with very repetitive lyrics that are basically and obviously the imagery of murdering someone, then murdering a whole bunch of people. There's burning cars. And
the lyrics are, we just want to party just for you. We just want the money just for you. I know you want to party just for me. It's like they're trying to I think the part of the point of the song in the video is to show just the two-facedness of that culture and that country. That while also simultaneously showing just the extent of what America has even done to African culture in general. Like having present day African American culture when it comes to the sort of the trap and hip hop sort of scene that's going on in America, but starting it off with, like you were saying, more traditional African music. It's just showing look where it came from and look where it's at right now. Yeah. It's at a place where it's like violent and
yeah, that's a really good point actually, because hip hop, obviously there's lots of really optimistic and light-hearted hip hop that isn't trying to be really dark, but there's obviously a violent and competitive nature to a lot of hip hop.
Totally.
And it's pretty much the dominant musical force in the world at the moment. Hip hop is, especially trap music at the moment. Scary to see where it came from, where it is now, and what that means to the people it represents. Obviously, it's such a global force that now it doesn't represent just one group of people, because it's anyone and everyone is on board with hip hop these days.
Right.
What was I going to say? Oh yeah, so I was going to say, just as basically this thought. I guess the isn't it the idea of America is to be free, right? It's let's call it that it is the party of humanity. It's supposed to be like everyone just goes and does what they want in America. Anyone can be anything, anyone can do anything, and this is the land of the free. This is humanity's party in America in this section of history. But also because of that, it's just got some of the worst. I don't know enough to speak on the topic, but it's got some of the worst sides of humanity is shown up so strongly in society, in American society as well.
Yeah,
through capitalism and all kinds of other shit.
Well, yeah, it's pretty much America's sort of like the test subject. It's like the great social experiment of humanity. And I guess we're learning things about how the freer humans get to express themselves, the more they try and like abuse that power to hinder expression as well. They they want specific kinds of expression, which is once again exactly what spawned this kind of song. And this, I think the video is actually even more important than the music in this particular video.
I agree.
As like the theatrics of it are much more relevant than reading the lyrics here. It's actually incredibly like basic and repetitive.
Yeah.
There's a few fairly poignant statements, but apparently, like from what I'm reading, the dance moves and the having the people in the background that are jumping out of windows, policemen that are chasing other black people. It theatrically, I think it's like the complete package.
Yep. I'm hoping. I got a bit of a Kendrick Lamar vibe from this track. Just with Kendrick's latest work, it reminded me of a couple of tracks off his latest album, Damn, and also off the Black Panther soundtrack. And so I'm hoping that, because Kendrick obviously is very cinematic and does a lot of his music videos often complement the track and kind of elevate them to a higher artistic statement. And so I'm hoping that that's going to encourage more people like Childish to do the same. And if this is any indication, this bloody exactly what's happened, because this video is goddamn amazing, potentially better than anything Kendrick's ever. No.
That almost sounded like is it the American national anthem? The da 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 da.
Yeah, I think that is the American national anthem.
There you go. That was like a nice little Freudian slip or something.
I probably know the American national anthem better than I know the Australian national anthem.
Yeah, that would be fair. America loves to fucking play that shit in media. Whereas Australians are sort of ashamed of their national anthem, I think. I think we all hate it, but I see a lot of people who are like overly patriotic in Australia are generally not shunned, but they're definitely not admired like they are in America. And obviously, I haven't been to America, so I don't know what I'm talking about. But you see it a lot in media when people are a lot more patriotic, and it's a value that's very valued. I couldn't think of another word. But in Australia, patriotism is encouraged for sure.
I haven't gotten that much from Australians. It does happen a bit, especially come certain particular days, and I see a lot more. I see it a lot more, but on a day-to-day basis, it's not nearly as strong from my perspective, which I think is good. But hey, what do you bloody want? It's good to question. Yeah. Good to question your country.
Totally. In fact, if you can't question your country, you're not in a very free country.
And that's the fear. That's the fear of lack of free speech these days. Did you see? Yep. Go.
Sorry, what were you saying?
No, go.
What would you think a This Is Australia... what do you think that would be?
This is... What do you mean?
The Australian version of Donald Glover's This Is America.
Oh. It would be a juxtaposition just the same. Like... drawing attention to the fact that because it's such an incredible country, and I've been noticing it more lately. I've been meeting more people. I've got this friend who's from Turkey, and she's just come over and fallen in love with this country. And another mate, the mate I was hanging out with on the weekend, he's from. Oh, fuck, where is he from? We were talking... Armenia. He's from Armenia. Anyway, so talking to these guys...
Armenia?
Armenia? That's how I... Doesn't matter. Anyway, so I've been sitting out and drinking in the centre of Melbourne at these amazing bars lately, and also a friend even from England, and just talking about how just amazing the coffee scene is, how amazing the booze is. Like, it's just such a picturesque like European city a lot of the time. But then the juxtaposition obviously is our hugely dark history and continued treatment of the Aboriginals, and just still there's still a lot of poverty and just a lot of shit and a lot of backwards thinking in Australia. Things are starting to regress in certain ways.
Yeah, we have our own sort of dirty roots.
And our attitude towards things like mining and stuff like that, like we're just ravaging the land.
Yeah.
I think that would be a big one. Big juxtaposition with our treatment of the traditional people, and also our corporate attitude as well in Australia is very dirty and consumerist and exploitative of the land and the people of this country.
Yeah. Hell yeah. I'm really happy with what's going on right now. Just like ripping into everything.
Yeah, let's tear it down, start again. No, I don't support any of that kind of shit.
In fact, no, I'm glad that it was actually through previous podcasts that we were able to figure out that that's how we felt. We didn't actually feel like we want to tear everything down and start again, but rather amend and fix.
Yeah,
that came from our podcast discussions.
Like people get really scared when they see younger people online discussing different political theories in different ways, like discussing Marxism and communism and socialism and all these kind of things, and thinking like, oh god, all these kids are going to fucking revolt and they're going to tear us all down. They're going to start burning buildings. Going to turn into anarchy, and like anarchism is another one that gets thrown around, and they think it's all going to just crumble beneath them. And there's going to be nothing left. But it's like, no, you fix the things. You can take elements from each one. It's not one system. You can take elements from each thing that works for different parts of the society. Like, we've got partly socialist systems. We've got Medicare and we've got welfare. So there's things you can fix, things you can take away from other systems and ideas. And as I said, Melbourne and Australia in general is a fucking amazing place to live. And I don't really want to live anywhere else. I'm starting to figure out. So, I guess that is a bit of patriotism. But fuck Gina Reinhardt.
You're not game enough to call her a fat bitch?
No, she does much dirtier shit than just be unhealthy.
Right? Yeah. I'm only mentioning that because Joel was fucking slamming her. If you disagree with someone, don't attack their character or their physical appearance. It's a weak debate.
Did we say that to Joel when he did it?
Yeah, and he still called her a bitch.
Well, I respect him for sticking to his guns. If he wants to, do it, then he can do it. I'm just, whoa, Jesus, I disagree. Anyway, what else we got on the table today? Good podcast. This is all right.
This is reminding me of the early days when we were literally like picking things up off our desk.
Yeah. Well, I'll just talk about that I've been feeling just quite uninspired lately.
Oh yeah, let's do it. Let's delve into it.
Let's just do that. Yeah, I don't know. Just really struggling to be interested in doing my daily cartoons and being interested in podcasts as well. Like, basically, like one it's a very slippery slope of like you lose traction for a day, or you're not so happy with your content for a day or two, and you can just easily start attacking yourself and going, oh fuck, maybe I'm actually just not funny, maybe I'm just not entertaining, maybe I should just be serious, maybe I should go back to writing acoustic songs, or maybe I should just work in a cafe all my life. These are the thoughts that are going through my head, and obviously as I'm saying it now, obviously I'm saying it in a way that I'm not that serious about it, but those thoughts run through your head while you're creating, and it's infuriating.
Totally. I often find like our brains have become sort of too smart. They've become too smart, and we create all these barriers and over intellectualizations that that sort of barricade against expression. In fact, you'll find that sort of the more intelligent a person is, the more barriers that they actually have against their own expression.
That's it's interesting when people who are hyper intelligent, right? I'll put quotation marks there. People who talk about like philosophers and people like especially, yeah, let's just stick with philosophers and scientists, right? Who use logic. That's the way they define their life. It's all based on logic, and it's all about clear thinking and being clear-headed, so you can explore ideas in a technical kind of fashion. And then seeing these people just succumb to the same worries and concerns that everybody else has,
yeah,
like
pitfalls,
yeah. Even though you know that they're not, that they can rationalize, that they can figure it out and use logic to get out of those holes, and not get out, but to understand them. It's scary.
Logic put them there.
I guess
logic
that's true.
put them in those pitfalls, and they're trying to use logic to get themselves back out. Well, I think the actual language of expression is more of an emotional one, and I think some people, especially intelligent people, will pride themselves on their ability to separate emotion from their their intuition. I've noticed quite a lot of people believe it's a sign of intelligence to simply be unaffected by emotion.
Yeah, totally.
And they've actually put themselves into a pitfall using logic. And people don't really realize how dumb they truly are, because when you're feeling something and when you're like verbalizing that feeling, you do sound like a bit of a kid, because emotions aren't like this wise old man. Like, emotions are like a fire. They're like a child version of yourself. I'm using some very like metaphorical language here, but if you're actually in the throes of anger or sadness or happiness, it's a childlike expression, and people don't like behaving like children sometimes. I definitely get really, really frustrated with myself, really down on myself when I act strongly with emotion, which is obviously absurd. It can be really helpful on like a day-to-day basis. Like, I don't want to have emotions flying around willy-nilly at my job while I'm making an espresso. Right. That's not helpful. Or if like a boss gives you shit and then you just explode with emotion. That's how you get fired. But
that's the part that frustrates me. I think is people tap into their emotions at all the wrong times. Like, I think it's really important to let emotions to flow freely and to validate them, but you don't have to let them fuel your actions all the time. Like, it's great, obviously, to let them fuel a lot of things, like when you're hanging out with people and when you're trying to create stuff, or just when you're watching a film. But when you're in your workplace, or if somebody bails on plans, just like little things, or when you're walking down the street, or if you're driving a car and anger can just start bubbling over and you just validate it and just like, yeah, I'm gonna feel this right now, I'm gonna go with it. It's like, fuck that, fuck you. Don't let that become everyone else's bloody emotion and their problem to deal with.
I reckon the only truly like appropriate time to just sit there and go, actually, I'm not going to act on this emotion, is when it's like overwhelming anger, really. Yeah. Like I know that we don't like feeling sad around people because we're afraid that we might like. Actually, some people just genuinely don't like being around other people when they're sad, and I think we're all aware of that. We don't like to be sad around people. Yep. However, like, if you're feeling sad, the reason you have those friends around you is because, like, you're meant to be sharing that. I think men especially do not share sadness, and especially respond negatively when they're angry at one another. But I don't even think that that's an entirely man-created thing. I think it's a domain of power that I think it serves some people for men to be weak in. I don't know if you've ever experienced that before.
So you mean like people will be sad in order to, like, then they're on the back foot, so therefore they'll be granted some. I'm running out of words. What I'm trying to explain, but yeah, they get certain privileges when they're sad, or when they're considered.
Yes, well, that's a true thing. That's, I think I'm more specifically talking about how it. I think some people benefit from the fact that men are emotionally unintelligent. And it's like, it's a domain where they can be taken advantage of by others because of their lack of understanding in that area.
You can totally...
And so that does include the manipulation that comes with using sadness to exert power or control over the actions or behaviors of someone else.
I've seen it used in ways where a man in power, let's say perhaps in a sporting team or in a workplace or something like that. Workplace is better because I've been in it. I've been in sporting teams, but when I was much younger.
Yeah.
But where they'll basically, they can use it so they're like, oh, if you complain or if you react emotionally to a decision made by whoever's in charge, then basically you are considered weaker, and therefore you are less inclined to react with emotion. You're more inclined to just play the role within the business or within the situation that you're supposed to, and and so therefore they gain just another level of power over you because you're not supposed to react with frustration or anger towards them.
Yeah, I think we see it as a sign that we've beaten somebody if we get them to emotionally react to it. I've seen that happen.
And people obviously use that in relationships, be it friendships or be it romantic relationships as well.
Well, and just to loop it around, that initial conversation about the my culture is not your prom dress. You're trying to like make someone not do a thing using the theoretical like exploitation. Saying it saddens me to see my culture used this way. I would like you to do some things now because I feel this way. Yeah.
People okay, that's such a really good example of how people use it. Is if they're more depressed or if they're easily upset, and I'm not talking about like depression, like clinical depression. I'm talking about just
people use depression to get advantages.
Well, but a lot of people do though. A lot of people use a more sensitive character that they play to get more things or to be. I used the word privileges before. I'm just trying to think of a different word to illustrate my point better. But yeah, basically the same thing as what you just said. I just agree with you. I just wholeheartedly agree with what you're saying.
I would like to emphasize that I think emotions should be freely felt. However, I think manipulation and like stuff like that requires like a neutral point. If you're gonna debate something, you probably shouldn't be using tears to illustrate your point. Like it's that I think it's been proven time and time again that you can be emotionally attached to something without it being this objectively awful thing. Like say you're growing a plant and that plant died, and now that's like a personal disappointment or a personal like sadness. But to say that everyone else should be feeling that as well is like, no, you can't make someone else feel that about your plant that you are growing. Like, some people can do that and go, like, I'm sorry for your loss.
Yeah.
But that's still not them actually feeling sad about it. It's like, it's just showing that they care.
It's funny that wanting people to be sad about the same thing you're sad about, when obviously it's just they want you to be sad about it. They want you to just understand that you're feeling shitty. But obviously no one's going to care about your dead grandma. I never knew your grandma. Bad example.
A couple of times when I was younger, because kids are just this constant stream of emotional manipulation.
Yep.
We learn early as a baby to cry to get what we want.
Yep.
That's what we do. We fucking bawl our eyes out until every single thing we could possibly want is thrust into our mouth.
Oh, okay.
Or into our hands, or like, you know, just it's all given to us because that's how we do it. And we actually have to grow out of that by realizing we can't cry and simply be just like looked after.
Yeah.
I can definitely remember as a kid just like reaching a point where you'd melt down and then people would finally go, okay, what's wrong? Like, what can we do to help you? And like that feeling of going, okay, people do actually care, thank God. However, they only care when you finally break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually something I was going to say before and I forgot to say, but you kind of remind me. It's a similar kind of thing. Just the idea that you can work yourself up like that. You can work yourself up into a tantrum, which we've all done when we were younger. I noticed that you can still do it as an adult, and I think we do it a lot more frequently, but we do it in different ways, and we don't work ourselves up into a physical tantrum. But when you express yourself, you're trying to express your emotions with words. Obviously, most of us aren't perfectly, like, we mix up our words while especially if we're driven by emotion, and so when you speak about it, especially if you speak in brief about it, it will usually come across in a much more dramatic way than perhaps you're actually feeling it. But once you say it and it gets validated by somebody else who you're talking to, then you start to think that you're feeling that emotion a lot stronger. And I do this all the fucking time, as I'll feel a little shitty, and it might just be simply that I'm tired, but somebody will say, "Oh, what's wrong? Are you feeling all right?" And be like, "No, I'm just feeling shitty." And if I leave it there, then that's fine, because I am just physically feeling kind of shitty. But if I'm then asked by someone what's wrong, my mind will go, well, what is wrong? Perhaps is your art not up to scratch? Are you failing in life? Is your job sucked? Does your girlfriend love you? What's going on? Has your dog died? And I start to attribute certain things in my life that are making me feel sad, but when I actually step back later, when I'm feeling a bit better, I go, those things weren't actually as powerful as I made them out to be. But if I'm constantly in that zone, if I'm constantly in that mindset, then it can just snowball into this worse and worse situation
and then
for myself.
suddenly you feel like the person next to you is the person who's actually making you sad or something. And suddenly, like, you're just focusing it all in the wrong place.
Yeah. That's why I think it's really good to... It's good to complain, but you should always do it with a smile on your face in a way, like
constructively, with a sense of humor.
Yeah, but you see people who do complain all the time. People who complain.
Indirect reaction to their emotional reaction. Yeah. Yeah,
and I'm talking about things that aren't really worth complaining about in terms of, like, they shouldn't be destroying your life kind of things. Like, they're little frustrations, but if you complain about them constantly, they get snowballed up. They get bigger and bigger and bigger until they just completely debilitate you. Is that the word I'm looking for? Debilitate?
Yep, debilitating. Yeah.
People who will say, like, nothing. I can't do the thing that I want to do in my life right now because I've got these bills and I've got this thing and I got this other thing and my friends bailed on me today, so I just feel awful and I can't do the thing. It's like,
yeah, dude, I actually genuinely felt that last time my friends bailed on me.
It's change of plans it can be it can really fuck you up for some reason. I don't understand why, but it's like if you thought you were going to do a thing, even if you didn't really, even if you weren't like completely excited about doing that thing, when it gets cancelled, like your world is thrown into turmoil briefly. I don't understand why we react like that. It's absurd.
I think I'd also like to attach to this. Also, the way to fix these issues is not actually the sadness itself. You don't sort of cry and then the thing sorts itself out. Like you do have to return from that sadness and then improve that thing or fix that thing. And like that, unfortunately, I think pretty much 100% of the issues that'll eventually be sorted won't be sorted because you were sad about it.
Well, it's like the grieving process on a smaller scale. Like you have to learn to understand your own emotions and understand how you're feeling about a certain situation. But that's only the first step of getting out of that situation and out of that emotion.
There was something else. I think there's something else I was going to say on this topic because it's quite good.
Good topic. Good content. Comment down below if you're sad.
Yeah, allow
comment below
yourself
if you're
to be
happy.
childlike at times. That might be what you need to reconnect with, Rai.
Yes, I agree. Actually,
for your
100%.
Because I'm sure you started the Pigeon comics out of some level of irreverence, like, and just wanting to do something silly and dumb.
Yeah.
But as the weight of being an everyday comic just like becomes heavy, it starts to look like what you're doing is like this serious personal achievement that must be maintained. However, like everything that's born out of a childlike wonder sort of is not going to persist in some sort of incredibly serious, grueling task.
One thing with those is I'm just kind of I'm trying to back off in terms of how much I'm stressing about it. I'm usually
but that can be hard. To stop stressing about not wanting to stress is like fucking totally. It's a fractal. It just continues.
However, like when I'm like, let's say 3 months ago, I was doing the daily cartoons and I was like keeping up. I was usually 5 days ahead. And if I wasn't, I would get really stressed out. And I was actually getting physically sick and ill quite frequently. And nowadays, I'm keeping it down to like, look, if I don't have one for tomorrow, then I'll fucking draw something tomorrow. And that's actually made me feel a lot better about it because when it gets to the day, I'm not as concerned with the content in terms of like, oh god, this one's not good enough, but it's okay, I'm going to post it in 5 days so I can think about it, really get my shit sorted out. Now I'm like, what? I have to post it, so fuck it. and so I'm relaxed. Like I'll just knock it out in an hour, and then the rest of the day I'm like, cool, what else am I going to do today? So that's helped a lot with that. But I will say, this is just me in general. I do want to reconnect with a childlike sense of wonder and relax a little bit. Even just with the way I speak, I talk about just primarily serious topics all the time.
Well, make fun about how stressful it is. Like, make a couple of comics about just like someone getting fucking incredibly worked up over the placement of like pebbles in a creek or something. Like, just like, I don't know. Somehow speak to your subconscious through what you're creating.
Well, that's definitely the more nihilistic cartoons are usually digs at myself. Which helps me. Totally. So comment below if you feel sad, and then also comment below your comic. Start a comic yourself. Why don't you do that?
We have got a letter today too, so let me send that one over. It is actually in letter form, so you're gonna have to grab that letter from. from me
can do that. Let's do it.
in this beehive. It's in the. I'm trying to avoid saying what it is.
Yeah, sorry, I've just got it. I've already got the letter. I've grabbed it from your hand.
Yeah, I can feel that now leaving my hands.
Okay, let's bloody have a little read of this letter sent in from a person. Dear Coprolalia, so I remember you lot having a chat about Kanye West, but I'm pretty sure you were talking about him before the tweets. Now, not trying to be a total wanker, I just figured that it's worth asking. Going into this, it seems like a ploy to get hype around his album and make his name bigger. Even though you might say he's a gold digger, realistically, it's having an interesting effect. I absolutely want to get Kanye's album as much hype as possible. I've been on the Kanye bandwagon for bloody years. I'm basically trying to highlight the people that are trying to get go after him now. There's petitions to cancel his Adidas clothing line and stuff like that, all based off his mere opinion. Personally, I see injustice, but I'm curious about your views. Could you humor me? Yours sincerely, Master Stephen Bates, reviewer at the First 9 Lines Weekly. P.S. Do any of you own a mersuit? Okay, it is actually what I thought.
Wait, let me have a look at this. A mersuit. I actually don't know what that is, so...
Is it... I think it is like a mermaid suit? Is that what I'm thinking? It's a furry thing. Furry fandom, also engaging in sex, blah, blah, blah. Mersuits differ from fursuits, most commonly in one way. The alterations made to the suit a male person wearing it to engage in... Oh, okay. It's a furry suit, but it's specifically for having sex with other furries with.
Brilliant.
No, my furry suit needs some upgrades. Unfortunately, it's just a regular old furry suit at the moment. But perhaps I will upgrade if there's any other furries out there who want to partay. Don't actually message me. That's a pure joke.
Wait. I think there's a some sort of riddle going on here. The First 9 Lines Weekly.
God fucking damn it.
We can't even... we don't know how to convey this to you guys, so it's just going to be between us.
Guys, if you want to break it down, you can go back over how I read this letter, and I guess you'll... I don't know, man.
No, it's gonna be pretty hard.
It's gonna be hours of work.
Cryptic.
I definitely... Okay, so this is actually a topic that I was going to bring up is removing politics from the music, and Anthony Fantano talked about it as well. Actually, you know what? Yeah, fuck it. I don't need to go into that conversation. All I will say is Kanye's political views are not what people think they are, I don't think. Because I don't think they're as strong as he makes them out to be. Like, if you take little sound bites, if you take little clips of what he's saying, then sure, it can just seem like... Okay, what did he say? He said he supported Donald Trump. He didn't actually say he supports anything Donald Trump has done. And in fact, when you
he says specifically, I don't agree with anybody's... I don't agree with everything anybody does.
Yeah. And I watched actually the full interview with him and Charlemagne, and that he actually says that he doesn't agree with Donald Trump. He just likes the way he did it, but he actually would. He said if he was to run, he would use the Donald Trump kind of like formula, but with the Bernie Sanders morals and views. So there you fucking go. Yeah. I like the way he put it. Was just that when he saw Donald Trump get elected, he knew that anything could happen in America, and so it's just just seeing what kind of abilities there are in a country like that. So I thought that was kind of exciting. I don't support everything Kanye says, and that's the fun of it. I like that Kanye is just completely insane.
I just like that he's using his power, or like having fun with his power, because I've always just thought that the amount of people who end up with power or money or whatever, who have no idea what to actually do with it and just end up doing nothing with it, is just astonishing. I think there's even quotes from different philosophers about how basically anyone who gets power least deserves it, things like that. Well, Kanye's in a position where he's just like, he doesn't know whether everyone hates him or everyone loves him, and he can't decide whether he hates or loves himself. And that's what creates this like occasional moment of outburst that I think is just somewhat interesting at times.
Just as you said with America, that America is like the playground basically of humanity and
social experiment of humanity.
Social experiment. There you go. So because of that, because it's such a blending of different cultures and chaos, it's absolutely chaotic, right? But because of that, we've got some of the best art, and I don't think this is even arguable. This is just almost an undisputable fact at this point that it's been the cultural force of like the last 100 years, right? With blues and jazz and rock and roll and now pop music, all the stuff in the 80s, just like that's just been such an important player in the entire world's culture. And I think that's because of the chaos. And I think that's part of the reason why I love Kanye as well, is because he's just chaotic, and all these random elements come together in this chaotic explosion of spectacle. And in there is just some absolute gold. But if you take it all as one thing, yeah, it's a goddamn fucking nightmare. It's ridiculous, and this shouldn't be taken.
As whoever's listening to this, like, think about that. Not everything you think is like the most poignant fucking statement.
If you wait for the perfect statement, or wait for the perfect art, or wait for the perfect thought to come, it's not going to come. You just start making shit, and you will strike gold. And that's just that is like the attitude of this current time as well, because like everyone's putting out content all the time, because that's how the internet works. And I think that's really good, because sure, if you look back in the day, maybe you look at the artists who we remember as the greats, as the classic, who painted like the best pictures of all time, like the Mona Lisa and shit like that, and we're not seeing all their sketchbooks. But now basically everyone's sketchbook is the art, and so we're seeing all these hidden gems that didn't get past their own inhibitions as well. Like, imagine how many things were painted by those famous artists or written by the famous musicians that didn't get out there because they just felt self-conscious about it at the time. Yeah. But actually had some cultural worth, actually had some interesting points. They might not have been the best piece. They might not have been even made the best points. But there was something in there for somebody. And I think it's great to just have it out there, because what's the alternative? Who gives a shit? Like, it just doesn't get out. Yeah. It's just not a big deal.
There's a good quote that's about how don't compare your behind the scenes with another person's highlight reel.
Like that.
Well, and I think the internet gets to work these days with like it's all in front of the scenes, I guess. Like, that's why people. I feel enriched by when people manage to actually share some like trash that they've obviously got locked away and they just need to get out of their system. I enjoy that.
That's I think it's therapeutic for a lot of people, and people like it because they see it as more human. I think that's why people like vlogs, because it's not. Like, some of them are highly edited, but a lot of them start out just really raw and just them talking into a camera. And sure, you're putting on a bit of a character, you're editing a little bit, but for the most part, if you're doing daily vlogs, like, you're going to slip up, you're going to make mistakes, and you're going to say shit that you don't believe. But you develop your opinion that way, and they develop their opinion by watching you and commenting and liking and subscribing, as you should do this video.
Yeah, do you know the channel Friendly Geordies?
Yes. Yep.
So he does all the Australian political comedy, and we're going to finish up real soon. Yep. But he does his long form videos, which have lots of cuts, lots of articles, lots of sources. They're fleshed out and written and scripted and everything. But he has a personal channel where he just does uncut, like unedited, just stream of consciousness. He's discussing a topic.
Yeah.
And you basically get to see everything you can't see in his edited content, which is the moments where he goes, "Oh, that joke wasn't very funny. I was just giving that a shot."
Yeah.
And you just go, "Well, that's every comedian. That's every artist. They're all throwing spaghetti against the wall and wanting and seeing what sticks." So that's how you make good spaghetti.
And this is the point of this podcast. Just spaghetti. As I was saying, I think I talk too seriously and all this shit, but the fact that we're analyzing all these things about ourselves and we're analyzing our political views and we're just exploring these themes on here. Analyzing. Like, we could be obviously doing huge amounts of research and teaching about these topics, but there's already channels that are doing that. And I don't know.
I mean, we're both well read in our own ways on certain topics and things.
But I
just don't want to suggest that we're a bunch of fucking pseudo idiots.
Yeah. No, I guess I like exploration in formats like this. I think it's exciting and fun.
Yeah. Also, everyone go out and buy a Merce suit and then have sex with one another while dressed as dogs.
And film
there
it.
You go, Dom.
Send it to us at coprolaria.com.au.org at gmail.com.
I think we've got .gov as well. We've become a government institution.
We're certainly funded by the government, I'll tell you that right now. The music has ended because that's the end of the music, and that's how music ends. That's how time works. Welcome to Coprolalia. We teach you. I have been Rye, but time will change that over time.
Oh fuck! There's a bee. It's coming. Yeah. One of the bees from the beehive is
there is a bee.
Here.
Oh my goodness! How not
Dude,
good
it's
that
really
is.
Unhappy that we're here.
Fair enough. We've been a nuisance.
We've overstayed our welcome.